All right, this video is designed to help in all my classes in terms of the requirements I have for reading and writing. One of my primary goals in all of the classes that I teach, regardless of the particular topic, is to help you become a better thinker. And the best way to become a better thinker is to become a better reader and a better writer. And so I put in place various strategies and rules and guidelines for reading, writing summary paragraphs, and then various writing assignments in class with very specific guidelines to help you develop the skills of reading thoughtfully, being able to summarize concepts and arguments in a book, and then being able to write well, being able to write with clarity in such a way that your thoughts are organized. So these guidelines will help you. Be sure to download the Reading and Writing Rules and Guideline document. You'll want to read through that, but I'll go through that now and give you some explanations as to exactly what I am looking for. In terms of reading, in some classes, I have you do reading outlines. Even if I don't require this in the particular class of mine that you're taking, this is something that I highly recommend. For each chapter that you read, it's valuable to take notes and outline the chapter, identify the central themes and the key words that are communicated through the chapter, and put it in an outline form in terms of taking notes of your reading. And that would give you a helpful way to be able to conceptualize the concepts of the particular chapter that you're reading. So I've given you some guidelines, some specific rules in the document that you might want to take a look at, but otherwise I'll move on to the next topic. Writing paragraphs is essential to the task of writing. I don't care if you're just doing a paragraph summary of a chapter, or if you're writing an essay or a 50-page paper or a dissertation. You have to know how to write a paragraph, a good paragraph. And being able to do this also in particular with writing summary paragraphs of what you're reading, which is what I often assign in classes, is that it will help you organize the material in a particular chapter and be able to conceptualize what the author is arguing. So there's sort of a twofold benefit to talking about how to compose a good paragraph, both to help you compose a paragraph about what you read so that you can grasp it even more, and so that you'll understand what a good paragraph looks like in the rest of your writing. First of all, every paragraph should open up with a good topic sentence. It needs to identify what is coming in the rest of the paragraph. And so if you're writing a reading summary paragraph, write a sentence that articulates what you think is the primary point of the chapter, the main thesis of the chapter. If you've already taken notes and put them in an outline form, which I highly recommend and sometimes require, use words, key words from those reading notes in that introductory sentence. And then you will compose 3, 4, 5 sentences that incorporate key words and ideas and arguments from the rest of the chapter. Again, if you've outlined the chapter and taken notes, you've already got material to help you with that. If not, you'll want to at least create a little bit of a mental outline for yourself in support of that primary point, that primary thesis of the chapter that you read. What are the primary arguments that the author uses in support of that main point? So there's going to be a lot of other things in the chapter. There's going to be explanations and illustrations and development. But you want to synthesize down to the primary points in the chapter when you're doing a summary paragraph. Or if you're just writing a paragraph in terms of an essay, these are the supporting points that you are making to develop and organize the thesis of that particular paragraph. And then you'll conclude each paragraph with what I call a clincher sentence, that final sentence that really is sort of a restatement of the topic sentence, probably has a little bit more development to it now that you've developed it within the paragraph, but still repeats in other words and synonyms and a little bit of development that topic sentence. So it's very simple. And all paragraphs in all of your writing, I don't care if this is a summary paragraph, a short essay, a long essay, a paper, or a dissertation, every paragraph should look sort of like this. Topic sentence, some developmental sentences, and then a clincher sentence that encapsulates the whole paragraph. For writing assignments in my master's classes, I want to encourage you. Let me put the rest of these up here. 3 to 5 sentences, clincher sentence. Do not use being verbs. Am, is, was, were. Don't use personal pronouns, I, me, my, us, we, or our. There certainly are cases in which those are usable and fitting in normal writing. But at this level, at least at the beginning, I want to force you not to use these words. The being verbs primarily because it will force you to use active verbs. Writing is almost always stronger with active words, and so I want to encourage you to use active words. So don't use is, are, was, or were. Don't use personal pronouns. There's a place for that in writing, but this will help you make the paragraph not about you, but about the ideas. And so don't use those first person, I, me, my, or even second person, us, or third person, second person, you, third person, us. Don't use any of those terms. In your paragraph, I'd like you to use at least one which or who clause. So this will help you write a little bit more complex sentences. Sometimes if we write all simple sentences, it can be a little bit choppy. And so if you write a which or who clause, that will help to give a little bit more interest and complexity to your writing. I'll show you an example of that in a moment. So this applies to summary paragraphs that are assigned for you in your class. But this also would apply to any paragraphs and any writing that you do for me, whether it be a 5-paragraph essay, a 7-paragraph essay, a 10-paragraph essay, a short paper, a long paper. No matter what, paragraphs should basically look like this. All right, let me give you an example paragraph here to just illustrate what I'm talking about. Here's just an example of a sample paragraph. And I want you to notice the various elements in this paragraph and model your paragraphs for all of the writing you do for me after this. Begins with a topic sentence. John 4 presents Jesus' definition of worship in spirit and truth. So that's the topic sentence. Then I've got sentences that develop the idea. Jesus explained to the Samaritan woman, etc. And then a final clincher sentence. Thus, Jesus defines worship as a response of the Spirit to God's truth, which encompasses all of life. So it's a restatement of that topic sentence, but of course in different words with a little bit of development. And you'll also notice here a which clause, which helps to add a little bit of interest and an avoidance of being verbs or personal pronouns, which forces you to use active verbs and makes it about the ideas rather than about you. Now, a basic essay. You'll write a basic essay for my classes, and basically what this is a 5-paragraph essay. You'll want to give the essay a title that reflects the themes of the essay, and you'll want to outline for yourself the main points, preferably 3. For a basic essay, you'll want 3 points in support of your main idea. Create yourself an outline for this. And your essay will consist of 5 paragraphs. The first paragraph will be your introductory paragraph. The introduction, I'll talk about in a moment what that should look like. Then you'll have 3 theme paragraphs, 3 paragraphs that articulate the 3 major arguments of your essay in support of your thesis, and then finally a concluding paragraph. So that's basically what your basic essay will look like. 5 simple paragraphs, and remember what a paragraph looks like. A paragraph's going to have 5 to 7 sentences, and a topic sentence, developmental sentences, and a clincher sentence. And so this is not a large body of writing, but this will hopefully help you focus your writing. Your introductory paragraph should look basically like this. Include one background sentence that sort of introduces the topic of the entire essay. One purpose sentence. What is the purpose of this essay? What are you trying to do? What is its benefit? 1 to 3 sentences that already introduce the primary themes of your essay. I'll show you an example of this in a moment. And then the introductory paragraph should include with your thesis sentence. This is the sentence, a declarative sentence, not a descriptive sentence, but a declarative sentence that articulates the argument that you are setting forth in this particular essay. Your theme paragraphs, so you're in a basic essay, 3 paragraphs that articulate the 3 major arguments in support of your thesis, should look like the paragraphs that we've already talked about. A topic sentence that introduces that point, that argument, so I should be able to see what's the argument being made in this paragraph in support of your thesis. State it right away in the topic sentence. Then at least 3 sentences, maybe a few more, that explain, develop the topic sentence, and then finally that clincher sentence. All 3 of your theme paragraphs in a basic essay should have that format. And then your conclusion should begin with a restatement of the thesis in different words, maybe with a little bit of development, but not necessarily. The thesis of your essay in a little bit of different words, 1 to 3 sentences that restate the themes, the arguments in your essay, and then a final clincher of the entire essay at the end that incorporates maybe ideas from the title, ideas from the thesis, that really gives us some closure to the entire paragraph. Now, what I would also like to see in an essay is integration of ideas from others. So I would like you to quote others, preferably books and articles that we have read in the class. You can bring in outside sources if you like, but that's not a requirement. I would actually prefer that you integrate quotations from things that we've read in the class. In your basic 5-paragraph essay, I would like you to use at least 1 integrated quote and at least 1 block quote. You can use more, but at least 1 of these 2 types of quotes. So I should see at least 2 quotes, 1 integrated and 1 block. What am I talking about here? Well, an integrated quote is a shorter citation, maybe just a phrase, maybe a full sentence, but I want it integrated within your paragraph. So here is an example of an integrated quote. The psalmist prescribed worship for the Hebrews when he commanded, comma, quotation mark, come into his presence with singing and into his courts with praise, period, quotation mark, and then footnote. You're going to want to make sure that you footnote clearly your sources using Turabian, using the style guide to help you with that. Make sure that you have a good footnote. That's a good integrated quote. This is not an integrated quote. Don't do it this way. The psalmist prescribes worship for the Hebrews, period. Quotation mark. Come into his presence with singing and into his courts with praise. That's choppy. I would like you to integrate the quote like I have here, where it's part of your sentence. You might just use a phrase, or you might use, even if it's something as simple as Jones describes this when he says, comma, quotation mark, and your quote. Even that's better than just sort of a choppy thing that we see here. So don't do that. I want at least 1 integrated quote like that, but I'd also like 1 block quote. A block quote is a little bit longer. A block quote is something that if you made it integrated would be longer than 4 lines, so it needs to be set off in a block. Longer than 3 lines. If it gets to that 4th line, go ahead and put it into a block. And again, use Turabian, use the style guides to show you how to do that. It's indented 1/2 inch, it's set off, but still make sure that you introduce the quote well. So-and-so says, comma, then give your block quote. Don't make it choppy. Check the style manual, which for Southwestern is Turabian, and then there's a style guidelines. Your essay should be double-spaced, 12 points. Check how to do block quotes, check how to do footnotes. If you go to the Swibbits Library website and click here on this button on their page, you'll be able to come to Turabian Style and Templates. You can see here multiple things for you, a checklist, templates that you can use, Word templates, so I encourage you to avail yourself of that. So here's an example of a basic essay, just to give you some guidance. Let's say the essay question is, what is worship? I'm first going to develop my thesis statement. Worship is drawing near to God in fellowship with Him through the sacrifice of atonement that He has provided. After thinking through this and thinking through what we've talked about in the class and what we've read, this is what I want to argue. Then I'm going to create for myself an outline. Here are the three main ideas, main themes that I want to develop in support of that thesis. And then I've even outlined some sub-themes in support of these three major themes. So when you create your essay, you're going to want to create for yourself an outline of sorts like this. And then it's just a matter of fleshing that out into the paragraph, because each of these points becomes a paragraph. So it should be fairly straightforward from there. Here's just an example of an essay. This is a sample basic essay. This is no more than I would require of you. You have your introductory paragraph, 3 paragraphs in support of your main idea, and then a concluding paragraph. We've got my thesis statement as the last sentence of the introduction. The thesis statement is repeated as the first sentence of the conclusion. And then I've got my 3 main points, the 3 topic sentences that support the thesis and that are developed in these paragraphs. But notice also that I've already introduced those 3 points in my introduction. I mentioned this a moment ago. After your background sentence and purpose sentence, give at least one sentence or a couple sentences that already introduce the 3 main ideas that you're going to develop in support of your thesis, which again is stated as the last sentence in the intro and the first sentence in the conclusion. And then also those 3 ideas are repeated, again, not word for word, in a little different words, in that conclusion sentence. This is a perfect example of the kind of essay I'm looking for. Hit pause, take a look at this essay. If you model your basic 5-paragraph essays off of this, you're gonna do very, very well. So that is a simple introduction to the basic essay. Everything else in the course follows a similar sort of example. You might be assigned an expanded essay. An expanded essay is the same basic idea, only it includes 7 paragraphs instead of 5. So you'll still have an introduction, you'll still have a conclusion, but instead of just 3 points in support of your thesis, you'll have 5 points in support of your thesis. So a little bit more development. And then in some classes you might have what I call a super essay, which really is just sort of a short paper, but I put it in the terms of an essay because it's the same basic elements of a basic essay, but more expanded. You can think of it this way. A super essay is 2 basic essays combined together. It's that simple. So it's a 12-paragraph essay. If you're assigned a super essay, it should have 12 paragraphs. It'll have an introduction, same idea as the basic essay, but that develops that introduces the entire super essay. And then you'll have 2 major points that support that thesis. But those 2 major points are your 2 basic essays. So you'll have a super introduction, then you'll have an introduction to your first basic essay, 3 paragraphs to develop it, and a conclusion to your first basic essay. Then you'll have an introduction to your second basic essay, 3 paragraphs in support, and a conclusion to that second basic essay, and then a super conclusion that wraps it all together. If you're assigned a super essay in one of my classes, I'll definitely have an additional video that develops the ideas and gives you more information on that super essay at a later date. So I hope that's helpful. Again, keep in mind the paragraph, that's essential, both for reading summaries and for your essays. And if you get those concepts in mind and get the basic essay under your grasp, that will help you accomplish the writing assignments that I give you. Again, the whole purpose behind this is to help you to be a good thinker. Good thinkers are good readers and good writers. Being able to read well and being able to write well helps you to organize your own mind so that you can grasp and then later communicate ideas clearly to others. So keep these things in mind as you complete writing assignments for my classes, and you'll do very well.